Tonight, the class of 2017 is no longer the youngest group of Yaleys. A new round of admissions decisions has now named the new group of freshmen. We took this opportunity to think back on that special day for the rest of campus.
Plus, this week also marks the 4th anniversary of Obamacare. Cody Pomeran sits down with public health expert Elizabeth Bradley to discuss why she thinks we're spending more and getting less in American healthcare.
Stay tuned for these stories and more because it's your Yale, your week, and your news. Hello and welcome to YTV. I'm Madison Alworth and today is March 28th, 2014. To begin, we'll go to Raleigh Cavero in the newsroom for this week's headlines.
Thanks, Madison. After 20 years at the helm of one of the world's leading research universities, you might think that Richard Levin would be ready for a long break. Well, turns out that 9 months was just long enough. On Monday, Levin was introduced as the next CEO of Coursera, a web platform offering massive numbers of open online courses. Levin accepted a role as a part-time senior advisor with the company during his sabbatical at Stanford last semester. Now, Levin will help expand the company's mission of making top-tier university classes available online. And this week, yet another Yale deli has come under fire for labor violations. On Monday, J&B Deli on Chapel was issued with a stop work order by the Connecticut Department of Labor. The order claimed that the deli had failed to pay minimum wage or overtime to its employees, while violating a host of other labor laws. The deli's owner, John Rhee, has described the situation as a misunderstanding caused by his 2 employees' undocumented immigrant status. He told the News his employees are fairly compensated, a claim confirmed by both of the employees. J&B is the second Yale tenant to be accused of labor violations in the past year. The first was Gourmet Heaven. Yale's Near Eastern Languages and Civilization department is the oldest in the nation, but it could be on the brink of extinction. Classical Arabic professor Beatrice Grundler is moving to a university in Berlin next year. That means the department will be down to its final latter faculty member. Yale is currently in the midst of a hiring freeze, so the department must petition the administration in order to search for a new professor. Even if approval is given, the soonest a professor could be brought on board is fall of 2015. 3 months ago, School of Management professor Constance Bagley sued the university for gender and age discrimination. Last week, the university made its first legal response to Bagley's claims, a move to dismiss the case. Bagley has claimed that she was not reappointed to her professorship in May of 2012 due to her gender and age. In its 99-page response, Yale argued that Bagley did not properly explore all avenues for handling the issue within the university. It further said that she did not file her complaints within the time frame required by law. Bagley originally filed her suit on December 20th. With the end of the school year nearing, a new graduating class of Yaleys will be entering the workforce. Among those will be hundreds of science and engineering students who have already encountered the challenges of finding employers in STEM industries. In recent years, Yale has made strong efforts to improve its STEM programs, yet the hurdle of job and internship recruitment has not been fully overcome. For more on this story, we go to Nora Etienne and Celine Tien.
Just a few weeks ago, Yale welcomed 100 high school seniors to campus as a part of Yes Weekend, the 4th annual Yale Science and Engineering Weekend dedicated to STEM recruitment. Yes Weekend is one of the initiatives the university uses to further promote and develop STEM here at Yale. Yet even with this new emphasis on science and engineering, many undergraduates still feel that Yale is lacking in one of the most critical areas of a college student's aspirations, jobs and internships.
My impression of finding internships so far has been that there isn't very much support for us. There are no engineering internships through UCS. There's that I've seen. If there are any, I don't know about them. If there is an engineering recruitment process, I'm not aware of it.
Comparing STEM to other recruited fields, many students have expressed dissatisfaction regarding the lack of employers that are making the trip to campus to recruit STEM students.
My roommate does econ. He's had a bit more success going through the simplicity and finding internships through there. We'll send out like 50 or so job applications for internships. And I just don't see that at all for STEM stuff.
I would say there's a slight disadvantage, at least, especially when stuff like consulting companies, finance companies are coming to campus to interview people. It can be sort of hard to find opportunities or even places to apply.
Engineering recruitment and internship opportunities do in fact exist at Yale. These include small and large recruiting events and online resources. So comparison to outreach in other fields might be misleading.
Recruiting for finance, recruiting for consulting, it looks different than recruiting for journalism. It looks different than recruiting for STEM areas. And making those comparisons can be sometimes erroneous. For the most part, I mean, there are many engineering firms that do participate in recruiting in the typical sense, as you might know it from finance or consulting, but there are even many more that do not. And the lack of that structure is sometimes misinterpreted as non-existence here at Yale specifically.
The Yale Alumni Network also serves as a strong internship resource.
A very helpful resource that one of my friends was telling me about was the Alumni Network, where they're very interested in helping people because they also understand that there's a bit of a lack still for the STEM majors, and they're very interested in helping people find internships. They'll contact whoever they can within their company, try to set you up as best you can to see if you can get an internship that way.
But there's also more opportunities that present themselves that when the employer is not physically present. So that can be reaching out to alumni through the UCS department, through the Yale Career Network, through LinkedIn. It can also be applying through jobs and full-time opportunities, or internships and full-time opportunities, through our Simplicity database. And all of those collectively, I think, give the students here at Yale a stronger opportunity, a stronger chance to find the position that they're looking for.
Many summer internships and job application deadlines have passed. The Yale Science and Engineering Association remains a platform for STEM students and alumni to connect through different job and research opportunities. This has been Celine Tien and Nora Tien for YTV. Back to you.
Yale is now working on constructing a 286,000 square foot laboratory that will serve as the new center for the Department of Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology.
In this week's Everybody Has a Story segment, Cody Pomeranz sat down with Yale Professor of Public Health, Elizabeth Bradley.
They discussed her new book, The American Healthcare Paradox: Why Spending More is Getting Us Less. Here are a few highlights from that interview.
I've been interested in this effort for a very long time. I actually used to be a hospital administrator and had been in the thick of these questions of high cost but not such great outcomes. And it really began with some research I did for an undergraduate course, the very first health policy course taught to undergraduates. I named it U.S. Healthcare Policy, Paradox and Promise. That's where it began. In America, what we tend to do is define health and health care as if they're the same thing. So we're spending a lot of money on health care, but health care isn't the only implement that makes one healthy. When you really think of what defines health broadly, it's defined by a lot more than just the care you get. It's defined a lot by the kind of life you lead, where you play, where you work, how you feel about things, what do you eat. These all go into really making a population healthy. It's not just health care, but Americans have trouble seeing the differences between those two. Definitely, that's one place where you could see a new definition of health, and healthcare would really make us look at patient care more holistically. I think from a policy perspective, it also would make us take a look back at what are we really investing in when we want to get a healthy population. Are we investing as wisely as we could be? I think we have to think back, how do we as American citizens think about our health? Before we think about what should we be doing to the medical profession, it's also what each one of us understands about how can I best stay healthy and what do I need as an enabling structure around me. So when we look at the United States, we're spending all this money on medical care and health care, your hospital, your doctor, your insurance company, and spending maybe not so much on the other pieces of the world that can really help us stay healthy. And that's what we have to take a careful look at. I think it's really very viable, actually. I don't think we're really calling for more resources to be spent at all. But with the dollars that we currently are spending on healthcare, can we spend them more wisely? Can we think a little bit harder about what really creates a population's health profile and adjust the way we are taking care of people so that we're spending in the place where we'll get the biggest bang for the buck? I wouldn't quite call them small potatoes. They're all important. But let's take a look back at the real problem we were trying to look at. We're trying to understand, why do we spend so much and don't have good health outcomes? The issues of spending a lot of money probably wouldn't upset the American public if we actually were having as good outcomes as the rest of the world that we are peer countries with. But you know, our maternal mortality rate is 6 times that of Sweden. We're 6 years, our life expectancy is 6 years lower than the highest performing countries. And yet we're spending double what the average OECD country spends on healthcare. So you got to ask, why is that and what can we do about it? And that's where I think what the problem we want to solve is. If we just are tinkering around with the healthcare system, that's going to not solve that other problem. We really have to spend differently. This is the way we really think of it, is we're spending 18% of the GDP actually on healthcare. Perhaps we should be thinking about, how do we use that healthcare dollar to really deal with some of the major causes of our health problems? And some of the problems really do report back to the social and economic ways in which we live. So should we be asking our healthcare sector to think hard about the social determinants of our health, not just the medical determinants of health? And if we did, we probably could actually get a lot more health out of the dollars we're spending in the healthcare system. I would say it sets a platform on which we can start to solve some of the systemic problems. It certainly doesn't solve them itself, but it does set a platform. In one way, as soon as we insure everybody and we pay for everybody's care, the country's going to recognize better exactly how much this costs. There aren't going to be the hidden costs there once were. Now it's going to be pretty explicit what we really are spending on healthcare, and can have a national open debate on that. A second element that the Obamacare does, which I think is a very strong effort, is it asks providers of healthcare to really come around the table and think about how can they improve health for a lower cost together, collaborating. And we find multiple cases in the book where we describe these sort of integrated systems that bring together medical care, housing, education services, and they get better outcomes for less. The ACA allows us to build more of that in time. Absolutely. We found 4 that we actually highlight in the book, and we found many more than that, but we decided to highlight 4 of them. And the interesting thing is they happen across all different kinds of sectors. So the nonprofit sector, the for-profit sector, the VA system in certain parts of the country, the Veterans Administration system has been able to do this. So we're optimistic. Actually, if you go to the front line, the local efforts are really pretty innovative in the United States. The one thing they should really take from this book is to recognize there are many ways to make a healthy population, and it doesn't all have to be done through our medical care system. And in fact, if we try to do it all through our medical care system, it's going to be very expensive and it's not going to work that well.
To watch the full interview, go to the YTV website under the features page.
Last night, thousands of applicants to Yale logged onto their Eli accounts to check their admission status. A lucky few found a bulldog on the welcome page and heard the Yale fight song in the background, indicating their admission to Yale. Michael Leopold reminisced with some current students about their first few moments as Yaleys.
You got it! No way! You got it!
Every year, roughly 2,000 high school seniors do something like this when they learn they have been accepted to Yale University. With fewer than 7% of applicants admitted, Decisions Day is, for many students, the culmination of years of grueling preparation. I asked Yaleys around campus to describe their reaction upon being admitted, some more outrageous than others.
And I was totally speechless.
I couldn't talk, it was so amazing.
Pure euphoria.
I just couldn't have been happier. It was like a dream come true.
Most exciting moment of my life.
It was the best time of my life.
When I got into Yale, I was actually in detention.
I was actually interviewing for Harvard.
I was in the Grand Canyon with my family on vacation.
Standing at the top of my hotel on the roof, just looking out in the old city of Jerusalem.
I was told to sit down, they had some news for me.
After practice one day, I got to my car and had a missed call from Connecticut.
So I checked my phone in class, just like was shocked. People could tell something was up. I clicked on the link in the email and the music started playing.
And it was like, Bulldog, Bulldog, bow, wow, wow.
I actually closed the browser and opened it again just to check.
I basically screamed.
Everyone just started screaming. I couldn't even hear like the admission song.
It wasn't until like half an hour later when I was like, okay, I got a deal. Then I did my whole yay and ran around and started screaming.
And I just started doing a victory lap around my school.
I jumped, hit my head on low ceiling.
And the whole class started clapping for me.
One of my friends was there, so, you know, he gave me a hug, and that was really awesome.
We'd like to extend a warm welcome to the class of 2018, regardless of your reactions. For YTV, this has been Michael Leopold.
In just 25 days, these new students will flock to Yale's campus for the annual Bulldog Days. Over 200 events will be packed into that 3-day weekend, ranging from things like master's teas and master's classes to campus tours and, of course, an extracurricular fair.
Oh my gosh, do you remember the moment when you got in?
Oh, of course, I don't think I'll ever forget it.
I know, it's a story that we'll tell people forever. So, well, that's it for tonight. We'll see you next Friday at 3 p.m.
For now, we thought you might enjoy watching a little more of one student's excitement after getting into Yale.
It's your Yale, your week, and your news.
You got it! No way! Dang! You got it! Go run outside! Go run! Hannah! Post it! Post it! Post it! Oh, that's so sweet! I'm so proud of you, Mike.